Good afternoon and welcome to From Where We Are, stories of news and culture through the lens of USC and Southern California. I'm Jameela Hammond, coming to you live from Studio B and USC's Annenberg Media Center.
And I'm Audrey Esomonu. It's October 12th. On today's show, Facebook remains in hot water after a second whistleblower comes forward. The Trojan family discusses the importance of community for National Coming Out Day, and how SoCal surfers ride the waves without sliding into the oil spill. All that and more from Where We Are.
Facebook has been under attack since the first whistleblower came forward and testified before Congress, saying that both Facebook and Instagram harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. Recent studies show Instagram is particularly harmful to girls' mental health. The company put on hold plans to release a new version of Instagram targeted for children. We took to campus to ask students at USC how they feel.
I think if we're just looking at just the safety of social media and just the fact that, people can pretend to be someone younger than they are, someone older, that poses a threat to kids, well-being, their safety, a lot of expectations of what someone should look like, what someone should act like, what their lives should look like. And I think, it almost robs children of an actual childhood.
Well, I think that social media apps should more so be focused on education than lifestyle. If we're talking about tweens and people that are younger than like 13 years old, I feel like children shouldn't even really have social media. Instagram could take you throughout a whole different world. With Facebook, you have to kind of be directly connected to a person to see what's going on. With Instagram, you can see all the celebrities in the world, and be like, oh, I got to be like her. She's only 20. She has $1 billion. Like, no, that's not realistic. That's like 1% of the world. So, yeah.
I mean, I grew up watching popular girls that fit the beauty standard, post pictures, and I just always tried to be like them, whether it be straightening my hair to look like them or buying new clothes. I just always tried to emulate, and they already looked like the beauty standard, so I think that is just even more detrimental. And, I'm 22, and I've grown out of that, and I know the differences, but I still straighten my hair. I still try and dress like fashion norms, even when I tell myself not to. So I just think that's something that you don't really grow out of, especially just being a kid and seeing all that stuff. I'm not even sure how they could protect from online crime and cyberbullying and the amount of deaths that are caused because of cyberbullying and because of tracking. And children are not aware of who to respond to and who not to respond to. They do not have the capacity for that, and that's just so dangerous.
We talked to Elena Botros, Aaliyah Thomas, and Chelsea Hilton.
A second former Facebook employee has come forward as a whistleblower. She says she also would be willing to testify before Congress about how she says the company failed to stifle misinformation. Facebook remains in hot water after the first whistleblower revealed some of the company's own research. It shows Facebook found its social media platforms are detrimental to teenage girls, divisive, and a danger to democracy itself. Jose Ramo has more on the revelations from the first whistleblower.
Her name is Frances Haugen. As a former Facebook product manager, Frances Haugen secretly copied tens of thousands of company documents revealing the company put profit over people. She revealed internal investigations from Facebook that showed it was mostly unintentionally promoting misinformation, hate speech, and violence, all for increasing its profits. Haugen told 60 Minutes about her concerns.
The thing I saw at Facebook over and over again was there were conflicts of interest between what was good for the public and what was good for Facebook. And Facebook over and over again chose to optimize for its own interests, like making more money.
Sarah Mojerad, a USC lecturer and expert in social media and misinformation, adds that Facebook doesn't take responsibility over the content posted on its platforms.
I think what we learned from the whistleblower's testimony is that Facebook doesn't have the capacity to monitor all the content that's coming out in order to determine whether or not it's misinformation, disinformation, or really causing a lot of these hyperpolarized situations. And quite frankly, I found that very disturbing.
Unmonitored content on Facebook can be divisive and polarizing. Some safety changes were introduced during the 2020 election, but Hagen believes that the company changed back too soon. Now, questions are being asked about the role Facebook played in the January 6th insurrection. Dr. Christina Lerman, a research professor of computer science at USC, said that the algorithms in Facebook unintentionally promote sensational and divisive posts without realizing the consequences behind them.
We have to show to more people content that many people had reacted to before. Well, it happens to be the kind of content that provokes reactions, or the kind of content that, is emotionally charged content. So algorithms end up showing emotionally charged content to many more people.
Facebook says it is not responsible for the polarization in the U.S.
I think it gives people false comfort to assume that there must be a technological or a technical explanation for the issues of political polarization in the United States.
You think it's too easy?
That was Nick Clegg, Facebook's vice president of global affairs, speaking with CNN. So can Facebook be blamed for the crimes that people who are on its platforms commit? Mark Ambender, an adjunct instructor at USC Annenberg who studies misinformation, doesn't think so. He also questions how effectively Facebook could have really prevented January 6th.
It's really hard to say that if Facebook had kept those controls on, whatever they were after the election, we wouldn't have January 6th, because there was so much happening off it. If you force everyone off Facebook who does bad things, they're going to go somewhere else.
Ambander believes that it is time to start thinking about regulation. Hagen spoke to a Senate subcommittee last Tuesday, urging legislators to do just that, regulate the internet. If things continue the way they are now, she believes Facebook is a national security concern. For Annenberg Media, I'm Jose Romo.
Frances Hagen will meet with Facebook's oversight board in the coming weeks to discuss her concerns about the company.
People across the U.S. celebrated National Coming Out Day this week. Claire Fogarty spoke to USC students and faculty members about the important role community plays in coming out.
USC junior Maria Lentz Cuniti remembers how she felt.
When I first got to USC, I was really scared coming to campus that if I came out as queer, both in terms of either my sexuality or my gender expression, I would be discriminated against, I would be looked down upon in classes.
Even though queer identity is less taboo in the modern day, the anxiety she felt before coming out is common.
Coming out, while it can be a beautiful sense of finding community, it can also be a very anxiety-provoking additional weight and additional pressure put on closeted people. What helped me is connecting with other queer people and starting there first, because it was more of a shared experience.
Community is key for many in their coming out journey. That is one of the reasons National Coming Out Day is so important. John Blosnich is director of the Center for LGBTQ+ Health Equity at USC. He shares what he thinks has made the difference for young people navigating the coming out process.
What's really changed everything is, the internet.
He points out how access to information and community can facilitate self-discovery and confidence in youth coming out.
They have access to information that youth 20 years ago, 25 years ago didn't have. Letting someone know that their community has a history is incredibly important.
Younger people that find community on the internet can be inspired to come out. USC Roski Jr. Annika Bjorklund is one of them.
It's a lot easier to find a community of people who feel the same way as you or are questioning things when you're questioning things. And that makes things so much easier than when you're sitting alone in your room, freaking out about something.
She acknowledges how coming out is different for people in her generation.
There's a less strict definition of coming out. It's less you have to announce it to the whole world. People are just like, are you? And you're like, yeah, I am. And then you don't have to make a giant deal out of it.
While coming out now may be easier than it has ever been, at least in the U.S., Lens Kennedy acknowledges that it is still difficult.
National Coming Out Day serves to remind everyone that we have to come out. It's both a celebration and a reminder of the fact that being gay or trans isn't normalized in society.
Something that all the people we talked to for this story agreed is that National Coming Out Day is about more than just coming out. It is about self-acceptance and living visibly in the world as a queer person. For Annenberg Media, I'm Claire Fogarty.
After recent legislation, California public schools and colleges will be required to stock their bathrooms with free menstrual products. Here's Tess Patton with how this is affecting USC.
California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill mandating public schools and colleges to provide free menstrual products in all restrooms. The period products law does not apply to private institutions, including USC. Prasanna Danner is the chapter president of Period at USC, which is an organization dedicated to ending period poverty and menstrual inequity. She became interested in this issue after her own experiences with her period.
A big reason of why I'm so passionate about my period is I actually have two period disorders. I have dysmenorrhea and then I have ovarian cysts. So I get like very intense, very heavy periods. So
she has found on-campus resources to be very limited from the start of her time at USC.
Sometimes I know I'll get my period last minute on campus, and like the only place that you can run to go get any type of form of product is if you like run all the way to the student health center.
There's a group on campus called WISE, which stands for Women and Youth Supporting Each Other. Margot May is a WISE site director.
We partner with middle schools around Los Angeles, but close to USC, and basically just provide a mentorship curriculum based on reproductive health, but as well as body image, healthy relationships, things like that that are important for growing girls to know.
Margot says that going without these products can be detrimental to the education of menstruating women. She compares access to menstrual products to access to food.
And if you're hungry during class, you're not going to be focused. Similarly, if you're worried about where you're going to be able to get menstrual products, or if you're just sitting there having your period in class, you're not going to be focused, and it's going to be an extremely stressful experience. So it's a need, it's a necessity. And
Period at USC worked with USG last year to try to provide menstrual products in buildings across campus. They successfully provided resources at 6 locations, including the Tudor Campus Center and the Student Union. But Prasanna says their work is not done.
But we're looking to expand this into dorms because it's just like honestly the pivotal area where it needs to be.
Despite USC's status as a private institution, Margot argues that USC can and should do the right thing and adhere to this new legislation.
A big expense. USC has a very large budget, so I think that that's something that they could definitely provide financially without much strain. No one wants to skip class because they have to go to run to CVS or Target to get a tampon.
USG Vice President Lucy Warren shared that USG has worked side by side with Period SC to implement access to period products across campus during the pandemic.
We have seen great success in that program where, I've gone and they'll be empty and then they're refilled and then they're empty again. And so I think it's very evident that the need is there. And so we're hoping to continue pushing for expansion of that pilot program so that ideally it's something that exists in all bathrooms, not just women's restrooms, but in every gender-neutral bathroom.
USG could not say for certain what steps the administration will take to address this new legislation, but they plan to stay up to par with competing public institutions. Annenberg Media reached out to USC Public Relations for further comment. However, they pointed us to the efforts being done by student groups like USG without any other formal statement. The stigma around periods is still prevalent even for college students. Access to these resources will allow for more convenience and discretion for students menstruating on campus. For Annenberg Media, I'm Tess Patton.
I'm Jameela Hammond. We're glad you're with us for From Where We Are.
And I'm Audrey Esomonu. It's 15 minutes past the hour. Coming up, Huntington Beach surfers reflect on last week's oil spill and everything you need to get through midterm season, aka dogs.
Legislation is moving forward in Congress to make Indigenous Peoples Day a national holiday every year on the second Monday in October. This year marked the first time a presidential proclamation acknowledged the day to honor the cultures and contributions of Native Americans. Nandiandani Moni has more on the story.
We've just celebrated Indigenous Peoples Day. While it has yet to be federally recognized, President Joe Biden came to acknowledge October 11th as Indigenous Peoples Day. He is the first U.S. president to do so.
It's certainly a step forward towards recognizing the historic mistreatment by the United States of Native and Indigenous peoples.
Peter Mancall teaches history at USC.
So I think it's a rather significant achievement that the federal government is recognizing that the United States only came about through conquest and colonization.
But the meaning of the proclamation extends beyond reconciliation. USC Cinema graduate student Miranda Du says it also validates Native American voices in the nation's current discourse.
We're not gone. We're not just a story in the past. We're not just, the Indians that Christopher Columbus made friends with. We're people that have survived for a long time. We've survived genocide. We've survived discrimination, and we're here today and we're celebrating all those people in this country.
Announced with Biden's proclamation was an executive order to restore 2 million acres of land to 2 national monuments in Utah, Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante. Mancall says this is a significant step in the right direction, but real change will require continuous tangible efforts.
It'll be more important if the federal government then continues to live up to its trust responsibilities to the hundreds of Indigenous peoples across the country with whom the federal government has formal treaty relationships.
Du also wants to see better school curricula that more accurately teach the full history of the country. But she adds that this education doesn't need to be formal. We can use many other resources to learn about Native peoples, their cultures, and the impact they have made in America.
Go check out Indigenous shows. Try to read a book by an Indigenous author. Take some time to learn about the tribes in your city or your state. Just take the time to really expand the narratives that you know and try to learn a bit more about the Native people that live around you and lived there before you.
It remains to be known if the holiday will be federally acknowledged. Congress has a year's time to declare it if they were to do it before the Indigenous Peoples Day. But we can all play a part in advocating for better recognition of Native peoples. For Annenberg Media, I'm Nandini Mani.
The National Hispanic Heritage Month ends this week. Annenberg Media students went to El Pueblo, the historic heart of Los Angeles, located in downtown LA, and profiled on a small artisan shop. Gordon Redfield Gale has more.
Owner Armando Murillo is a second-generation leather artisan on Olvera Street. At Murillo Leather Goods, we found him swinging his hammer, focused on the bag he's making.
What we sell here at Murillo Leather is, I would want to say, kind of like a throwback to the 70s, the hippie era. We sell belts, leather hippie bags, bracelets with names, huaraches, of course, but we don't make those. Everything that we sell here is handcrafted. And what I'm doing right now, for example, is a leather tote bag, but it's all done right here in front of the public.
Olvera Street has a diverse community and a neighborhood rich in culture. The historic brick street is lined with all kinds of authentic Mexican vendors and artisan shops.
All of the material that we get here comes from Mexico. And we take it from there and we cut, slice, paint, stamp, and tool everything. It takes me approximately from start to finish 7 to 10 days to finish one particular bag, but I don't do it all at the same time.
Armando's boutique has remained a staple of the street even as other shops have come and gone. He believes that stores like his offer a wholesome alternative to other stores and online shopping.
When I was a kid and my dad was running the show here, there were more artisans, and not just in leather. There were glass blowers. There was actually a blacksmith down the street, and several leather artisans who now, I guess they just, as they got older, they sold their businesses, or the kids didn't continue the actual process of manufacturing. But when you can walk into a place like you just did and you can see somebody actually manufacturing in front of you, it says a lot, and it really means more to the person, especially if it's a custom-made product, like with a name or whatnot, stuff like that.
Armando upholds the tradition of this leather shop because it is part of his inheritance, passed to him by his father. Now he is the one putting in time to keep the business running smoothly.
I'm just representing Olvera Street and having the privilege to manufacture a product here on Olvera Street in downtown Los Angeles. But above that is representing a legacy that my dad left, and continuing, a business that he left me is something that I cherish with my heart. And I'm here every day, guys. I'm here every day doing the very best that I can to do that and to continue the business.
From Annenberg News, I'm Gordon Redfield Gill.
It's been over a week since 140,000 gallons of oil spilled in Huntington Beach. The beach has since opened and is welcoming back visitors, but some never left in the first place. Before the beach reopened to the public, Shayla Escudero talked to some surfers at USC and Huntington Beach to understand why an oil spill may not be stopping some from riding the waves.
Glenn Jackson went on his usual morning walk along the coastline. The beach was vacant and covered with miles of caution tape, so he was surprised to see a silhouette out in the water.
There was a surfer down near the end of Bolsa Chica near Sunset Beach, and he was just out there surfing. I saw him catch a few waves. I saw him walk in. The beach was supposed to be closed, but he was out there.
Some think that surfers are going to go in the water no matter what. Pedro Lopez thinks that surfers are still going surfing because it's tied to their mental health.
When I was young, if I didn't surf every day, I didn't feel right. I had to be in the water. So all these kids right now are feeling lousy because they can't be in the water every day.
Looking below the pier at the waves crashing on shore, local surfer Jesse Melma is anxious to go back in the water. He usually surfs twice a week, and he misses that sense of community. He thinks there has always been an anti-establishment attitude when it comes to surfing.
Surfers have always gone against the system. Surf culture is all about just being in the water and the culture of a community, and I don't think people like when their community is disrupted.
USC has its own surfing community. The USC surf team usually surfs at Manhattan Beach.
As of now, they're saying the South Bay's supposedly safe from the oil spill. We'll see if that changes in the future.
Andrew Huang is a president of the USC surf team. He knows that although beaches may be open, the damage of spills is long-lasting.
It affects the coastline basically for years. When there was an oil spill about the same size in Santa Barbara in 2005, there's been tar on the beach ever since.
The effects of that spill are still being felt over 15 years later. But who knows more about patience than surfers? Daniel Dasaveda doesn't know when his part of the beach will be clean enough for him to feel safe.
I'm gonna wait. That's what surfers do. We wait. We wait for the waves. We don't catch waves. We ride them.
But for some, there's a different kind of waiting. Pedro Lopez has been surfing since the 1970s. He says the water was dirty back then, and no one cared about the environment. He is still waiting for change. Lopez thinks the recent oil spill was a wake-up call.
Surfers can unite and actually make change for the people.
While Lopez isn't certain about what change needs to happen, one thing is clear. Surfers will always find their way to the waves. For Annenberg Media, I'm Shayla Escudero. With midterm season seemingly never ending, you may be wondering where to turn for academic and emotional support. Sophie Sperber has more. Jana Peterson helped work on the story.
Have you been feeling stressed about midterms or unsure what resources are available to you?
Mood.
Do you know about the campus resources for midterms?
I do not.
I know there's a tutoring center. That's it, really.
We did some digging so you don't have to. Here are a few ways you can de-stress before midterms. On October 21st, at the University Religious Center, there will be Community, where students can de-stress with therapy dogs and sip tea. Vanessa Gomez, Associate Dean of Religious and Spiritual Life, tells us a little bit more about the event.
A lot of students are so focused on their academics that they forget to have fun, they forget to relax and just really chill and be in community with one another. And so the idea was with this lovely courtyard that people would just come, enjoy some good food, enjoy good company, and yes, have some therapy by, these cute animals.
Bailey Johnson, a sophomore engineering major, went to the last community event in September.
I love the puppies. I'm sad that there's just one, but that's okay. I love dogs, so I will wait in this line for however long I need to.
If puppies, free tea, and hanging out with other USC students is your thing, make sure to check out Community on October 21st. But if it takes more than free tea and puppies to solve your stress, the Student Health Center also has resources available. Mental Health and Counseling Services is offering Let's Talk sessions. Students can drop in for 30 minutes to talk to a therapist about anything that's bothering them without the stress of an actual intake appointment. They are also offering multiple workshops about stress, sleep, and mindfulness. Danielle Gott, Assistant Director of Outreach and Prevention Services, explains.
We have our sleep workshop, which is 60 minutes about sleep. Well, why is sleep important, right? When we go into midterms, we're often really stressed out, which causes students to do the opposite, right? They won't sleep, or they'll stay up, or they'll pull all-nighters. And in addition to that, we have our Keep Calm workshops, which engages students in mindfulness, right? If we look at students who are feeling overwhelmed or experiencing anxiety related to tests, remaining present in the moment sometimes can be really challenging. And so our Keep Calm workshops targets that. And then we also have a test anxiety workshop, which specifically focuses on exams and testing and how to help students really improve their performance.
These workshops are available on your student health portal along with the Let's Talk drop-in sessions. Good luck with the last of your exams, everyone, and don't be afraid to ask for help. For Annenberg Media, I'm Sophie Sperber.
It's coming up on Thursday and Friday this week. Some may say it is a welcome break after students returned to classes in person a couple of months ago. Cassie Esparza talked with students about what their long weekends will look like and how badly they feel they need the time off.
Due to the pandemic and online classes, USC didn't have a fall break last year. But this year, it's back. Students are excited to have 2 days off school, and some of them are taking full advantage.
I really need a big break. I deferred last year, so I haven't been in school for a whole year. So getting back into the swing of things. So I'm actually going to Morocco. I was just looking at plane tickets just now. I've been planning it for like a year. I'm going to go see the sunset in the Sahara Desert.
I don't have plans yet. I think I'll be working during that weekend, but that Thursday I'll probably enjoy the day I have off of class, sleep in, probably make myself a fun breakfast, maybe take my dog to the dog park, just kind of enjoy the free time that I rarely have.
I think I'm going home on Thursday morning. I'm taking a plane home, and then I'm just excited to see my family and get to spend some cold weather in my hometown because I miss it.
My boyfriend and I are going to Chicago from Thursday, which is the first day of fall break, till Sunday, which is the last day of fall break.
We also asked students how badly they need a break from school, especially because it's the first semester classes are held in person since the pandemic started.
Honestly, it's very much needed. I feel like this semester we kind of hit the ground running, and there's not really been just a moment of rest. So that'll be really, really nice.
Yes, definitely, especially with midterms.
We spoke to Levante Herbert, Yasmin El Kurd, Natalie Williams, and Isabel Vu. For Annenberg Media, I'm Cassie Esparza.
And that's all we have for on today's From Where We Are. Today's show was produced by Polina Cherezova, Jeffery Lee, and Fernando Cienfuegos. We also got help from Shirley Jihad and Gabrielle Horton.
Fernando Cienfuegos is our technical operator, and Derek Renfroe composed our theme music.
We are also streaming live on KXSC. Follow KXSC at kxsc.org/listen and on YouTube at Annenberg Radio News. Subscribe to From Where We Are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you're looking for more news, be sure to download Annie, Annenberg's news app. And look for us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Annenberg Media. I'm Jameela Hammond.
And I'm Audrey Esomonu. From all of us at Annenberg Radio, wherever you are, we hope you'll join us again for
From Where We Are.